Today we discover a correlation between climate change and biological diseases. We introduce a major poll conducted by a climatologist who teaches at Harvard University. Climatologist Alex Abhinav has examined his collected statistics and has come to a conclusion that predicts global warming to continue past the year 2100. The climatologist has evidence that currently climate change is already in effect. The global temperature has increased from now since 1980. We will now head live to our reporter Justin, live at Harvard University.
I'm here at Harvard University with climatologist Alex, who's progressed in understanding of climate change. So, Alex, what have you discovered new about climate change since 1980s to this present day?
Well, Justin, the patterns of climate has changed as time progressed. Because of fossil fuels and the distribution of gas emissions, the global temperature will increase if we continue our trends. Such activities include human activities, unsustainable urban sprawl in developing areas, and unsustainable industrialization. Human activities such as littering, driving automobiles excessively, and high-protein diets harm our environment and contribute to the amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. In new developing areas, there will be more people moving into the neighborhood. If the amount of people moving into the developing area isn't controlled, there could be too many people living in the same area for the environment to support. Many people consume a lot of protein from beef products. If more beef is required, more cows will be needed. With them comes higher levels of methane that will be released into the atmosphere. These are a few things that affect our atmosphere, which will lead to a drastic change in our patterns of climate change if we continue doing the things we do.
I haven't thought that our actions would affect our planet like that. It's amazing that you come to realize this. Well, what's happening to the other parts of the world that are not a part of urban sprawl, such as the polar regions?
I'm glad you asked that. You see, even though less than 1% of the world population lives in the polar regions, the effects from the damage that humans have caused elsewhere in the world still affects the polar region. Some things that affect the polar regions are the polar ice caps. The ice caps are melting, and they still are. The water that is contained in the ice caps is fresh water. It has never been affected or contaminated by any living thing. This melting fresh water leads to the second problem in the polar regions. The water levels have been increasing because of all the melted ice from the ice caps. Sea levels have been rising because of the melting ice, and this can cause floods in several places around the world. Rising sea levels can also cause erosions and landslides.
How are we going to deal with climate change?
You see, our actions that cause drastic changes in climate change took years to come into effect. That also means that it will take years to stop the effects that are causing climate change to change drastically. The sooner we start doing things that will aid our environment, the quicker we can get rid of the effects. For example, we can start reusing water bottles instead of throwing them out in the trash or litter. Doing so will save us money and help our environment. We can also carpool with other people so we can decrease our carbon footprint. We can also change the lighting in our houses to fluorescent light bulbs. These light bulbs are more efficient than the standard incandescent light bulb. Making all of these little changes will help out our environment a lot more if people start making a change towards being environmentally friendly. A lot of people out there are already doing so, and I encourage my students, as well as everyone who is watching this broadcast, to do the same. We only have one Earth, so let's not ruin it.
Thanks, Alex, for your time and knowledge. This has been a news report by Justin Ocampo, JACA News. Now back to you, Abhinav.
Thanks, Justin. Now we'll be comparing the effects of climate change in the human body. As mentioned in Justin's previous discussion with climatologist Alex, we have now been reminded that climate change is a serious threat to our world's well-being and as well as others. Due to the increase in world global temperature, slowly but surely we have lost a significant amount of polar ice caps, which in turn has left our world dealing with significant consequences. The animals living in those regions, such as polar bears, are dying, and all that humans do is make it worse by increasing the amount of gas emissions we put in our atmosphere, further advancing our stages of global warming and leading to climate change. With all this pollution entering our atmosphere, it unknowingly accumulates in our bodies. The byproducts of vehicle/manufacturing emissions being sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen dioxide enter the respiratory system, causing debilitating health issues. The more that it's released in the air, it will eventually get into our respiratory system and eventually will kill us in the long run. Now let's go with Justin with his interview with biologist Christopher.
I'm here interviewing biologist Chris Madadine on climate change and the effects it has on human biology.
Well, Justin, that is a really broad subject to talk about in a few short minutes, for we as humans have had numerous diseases caused by the changing of climate and its odd counterparts. But to answer your question, over the past several years, we have come to the conclusion that skin cancer greatly affects the cells at the biological level, where the sun's harmful UV rays passes through the gaping holes within our atmosphere caused by the harmful emissions that we put into the earth. These UV rays then hit our unprotected skin, causing mutations in our DNA. This mutated gene then undergoes the process of mitosis, but seeing that it is mutated, it continues to divide at an uncontrollable level, where no cancer cell dies as normal cells usually do. When and if this is not treated in time, the skin cancer may enter the bloodstream underneath your skin, then causing a secondary cancer.
Because of climate change, we've been having a shortage of winter and most of the ticks weren't killed. What are the effects of this?
Well, due to the short winters, we've had an increase of ticks for the upcoming spring. Ticks, whom are thought to be insects, are actually small arachnids, living on the blood of mammals, birds, and reptiles, but in this case, humans. Now, because ticks feed from one blood source to another, numerous diseases are common, but the diseases in which goes hand in hand with ticks is Lyme disease. As of the increase of ticks, it is more likely our population will be affected by Lyme disease, a disease which is usually identified by a reddish-pink bullseye-like rash at the contact zone. If not treated, Lyme disease is known to cause joint, heart, skin, and nervous system issues, but there is no need to fear. If the symptoms are caught quickly, the disease can be easily cured with an antibiotic. But regardless if this disease is curable, isn't it best just to try to reverse our ways to finish away with these pests by being more eco-friendly?
As you may already know, climate change is dependent on our craving for urbanization and its ensuing air pollution through vehicles and our chemical emissions. What are some effects air pollution has on our respiratory system?
Well, research conducted at my place of practice has shown that long-term exposure to air pollutants greatly increase the risk of allergies, asthma, lung cancer, and obstructive pulmonary disease. With the accumulation of air pollutants and toxins going in and out of our bodies, we will eventually come to a point where the damage done is too serious to reverse. Due to the respiratory system's main function of bringing in air, the air brought in usually consists of harmful toxins which damage the exposed membrane, leaving it vulnerable. Also, with the inhalation of air particles, it is more common for our lung tissue to become damaged due to ozone, free radicals, and metals. The ozone, when inhaled, can damage the alveoli, causing the cycle of inhalation and exhalation to cease to exist. Furthermore, many pollutants will then enter the bloodstream, causing the cardiovascular system to spread the toxins from our air to distant organs such as the liver and even the brain, which over time will become harmful consequences.
This has been an interview with biologist Christopher. This is JACA News. Now back to you, Abhinav.
Therefore, climate change is a big problem and is affecting us humans in many ways. Polar caps melting, temperature rising, and glaciers melting affects us and many other organisms. But all these problems can be solved by reducing our carbon footprint. The correlation between climate change and biology can be demonstrated by the pollution in the air getting into our respiratory system, thus creating human respiratory infection. With all the gases destroying the ozone layer, the more UV rays, the greater chance of getting skin cancer. Thank you for joining us at JACA News. We will see you next time, but in the meantime, let's make our world greener.